Welcome back to The Notice. I'm TJ Houske, Chief Executive Officer here at OTAVA, and today is not surprising, but there's been more revisions and changes in our industry. And so topic for the day is the recent Broadcom announcement. So kind of take you back, time travel a little bit, and that was in the late fall of 2023, the legacy VMware service provider program transitioned over to what is now the Broadcom Advantage program, and the introduction of white label came as a part of that program, and also the consolidation of what was 4,500 plus partners down to a grouping of tiered partners being Pinnacle, Premier, and registered or standard partners. And that go-forward program really launched in spring of 2024, and here we are in 2025, and that program has been revised again. And so there's been additional consolidation that has narrowed the pool of what now going forward is not registered partners, but authorized partners for VMware Broadcom. And that is the newest announcement. So over the last week plus, I've spent some time with various CEOs, peers in the same sector that are both some on the invited list and some on the departed list of those no longer a part of the program. And there's a handful of questions that seem to be common. And the FAQs, I'll point you to those, and you'll see that here linked within our podcast for you. But Broadcom did a good job of spelling out at least the low level or the low hanging fruit to the questions that most have. So one being, well, I have an existing contract with Broadcom. What happens with that contract? And as you'll see outlined, through October 31st of this year, you have the opportunity to win new business under your existing contract vehicle. So you can add new logos to your business, and you can continue to conduct business the way in which you have before this announcement. Then you have core capacity expansion. So core expansion is just adding on to existing contracts or existing customers under commit, and you can do that through the remainder of your contract term, which for most is the end of March 2027, but for those that signed 5-year contracts, right? And for the new customers that you do acquire between now and October 31st, those customers are co-termed to the existing contract that ends in March of 2027. So I would say that that's the first set of questions, is just kind of clarifying what can I do versus can't I do. And certainly you have the FAQs to reference, you have your Broadcom rep and account team that you can reach out to, or the Broadcom portal that you can get more information there. And certainly you can reach out, here at OTAVA, we're spending a lot of time, as you can imagine, having conversations like this. So that's probably the first set of big questions. I would say that the next big question that I've heard from folks is, do you have the list of partners that are authorized versus not? And in similar fashion to the last time that the program was revised, Broadcom does not release the list of who's who on the invited versus the departed list. But if you watch between the TSD community and webinars being posted by partners that are authorized partners out there, you're going to find very quickly who some of the bigger partners are that remain within that program, and what their offers are as they go forward in this new landscape. Certainly this is historic in that this is a really large, really rapid transition, ultimately a consolidation in the partner community, and with it there's a lot more questions than answers right now, I think, for many folks. But Broadcom, the technology, when you think about it from a VMware perspective, the platform remains the same great technology. And in their VCF9 and a lot of the things that they're expanding on, we'll talk about that in coming notices with Justin Keller, who runs our technology and engineering, Ben Stiles, our field CTO, for what are customers using and maximizing within that. But I would just like to say, I think it remains a great platform, and separate for how people feel about the business side of this and what's happening. The technology is great, and I know that customers are continuing to take advantage of that, and we still continue to lead well. The next question I get is, for OTAVA, what does it mean? OTAVA remains as one of the authorized partners going forward. So we're extremely grateful for the opportunity to continue to lead with our private cloud business and multi-tenancy here at Broadcom, VMware's platform. It's something that we've been doing for over 15 years. And so we continue to enjoy that. We really like helping people with that. but we do continue forward as an authorized partner. And so I've been on several calls already having early conversations with those folks interested in, what does this look like? How do we partner with you as an authorized partner going forward? And some of those questions are the ones that we're working on right now to answer. What does that new partnership look like, and how can we add value and make sure that you're maximizing the benefit of, not only the contract relationship, but VCF enablement and taking advantage of all of the features that are within that and our expertise. Another question that I've been receiving a lot is, hey, TJ, do you have a perspective on why Broadcom is making the changes to the program? And first, the most honest answer is anything that I say would be my perspective, my personal opinion, not fact, right? So I can only guess that there's a strategic outcome that they're seeking. Like every business, they have objectives and they have outcomes, and I have my opinions. Some of them are probably a little bit more aggressive on why you would do this in their position, but again, they're my opinions. At the end of the day, I think it really narrows down to, Broadcom's looking to find a smaller subset of partners that they can partner with. They've continued to express that their goal is to maximize, relationships with those partners that are going to exemplify adoption of VCF, really drive that growth for them. So that's my interpretation of why this is fewer folks to manage, which puts kind of a more narrowed focus on getting the outcomes that you want from a business strategy perspective. Certainly there's a cost benefit. When you narrow down the partner community footprint, there's less people to support. That's just naturally less cost. Quicker turnaround time on certain things when you're thinking about you being the manufacturer, the creator of that software versus those that are managing it at the resale level or the distribution level. But I think a lot of the many business questions that folks have asked me behind the scenes, we'll leave off the notice for right now because it's all speculative. It's all our opinion. But at the end of the day, the platform remains, the partner program remains in modified form, and there's a handful of authorized partners to work with to continue down your active strategy with this platform. The other question that I've heard recently is well, what are other businesses doing? It's pretty loaded is probably the right way to say it. And what I mean by that is we're in a really rapidly evolving landscape. So when you take a step back and you look at not just Broadcom, but you look at the introduction of heavy adoption for artificial intelligence and large language models and just AI generally, folks are really reevaluating what does infrastructure look like going forward, particularly as a service. When you think about the rate of change and what is now needed for today's modern data center for customer workloads and what organizations are trying to achieve, through the AI arms race, there's a lot of different feedback, right now in this space about cloud in general and what's the best use case for it. As it relates to Broadcom, I think that what I have heard consistently is folks are kind of, but not kind of surprised, right? And I know that sounds, like double speak, but that's how they feel is like, well, I'm surprised that it was this quick, but I'm not surprised that there was a revision. And I think Broadcom has been open in communicating that, they're making changes and their focus is, to get to their end state, which is, I think VCF and the like, but some of that is still to be determined. But what I'm hearing from really the business side now is just like, what does our strategy look like going forward using, Broadcom VMware? And certainly the feedback remains the same, that, VMware has an incredibly robust and mature platform. It's not like the technology itself changed overnight. Certainly there's up and comers in competition for alternative hypervisor solutions, but I think you could make the argument when you look at just the data points of global market penetration on server virtualization, blended market penetration, across all of the feature sets. Broadcom is the incumbent, and they've established themselves with a really sophisticated and strong product in VMware. And so I think most organizations right now are trying to determine, what does the future of private cloud look like for their individual business? And similarly, how does that tie into the bigger picture of not the hypervisor, but the technology itself, especially with AI and large language models. All right, so the next question is, how can OTAVA help? As an authorized partner, in a rapidly changing landscape on a compressed timeline between now and October for the first major milestone. What can an authorized partner like OTAVA do? And certainly I think the first thing is just to let you know that similar to you, we have deep expertise in VMware Broadcom. We have relationships, not just within the organization and in the partner community, but beyond. And we've done a really good job, I'm sure that you would say the same for your organization, of really focusing on advancing, our private cloud offering and helping other MSPs do the same. And we have been a partner for partners for a great many years, not just since the advent of the new Advantage program or white label, but channel and MSPs in particular have been a part of our business for the last decade. And so we get it. We really eat it, sleep it, breathe it when it comes to what the stressors are for cloud service providers, managed service providers, how to run that business optimally and try to maximize the combination of maximum uptime, solid profit margins, retaining your customers, thinking through platform evolution, advanced feature set advancement, right? So I think we're pretty well rounded, and we spend a lot of time having those conversations with folks. So that doesn't change. I think that where it evolves is in this new season as an authorized partner, there's nuances, right? So question number one, is like, are you going to continue? And this is how I think OTAVA can help, and I've been having these conversations. Are you going to continue transacting, Broadcom? Is that going to be a central platform as a part of your strategy? If it is, then your first major milestone is by October 31st, you want to identify and align yourself with one of the authorized partners and start to have that conversation about what does November 1st and beyond look like in my sales motion and my business management strategy as it relates to Broadcom. Simultaneously, where we will spend some time with you is helping think through what does this look like from an existing customer as you get to March of 2027, and you think about do you want to host all of those workloads? Do you want a hybrid deployment? Do you want to consolidate? What does that look like? I think that's a much bigger conversation, and I think it's one rightfully so that you push past October 31st, but know that OTAVA is capable and is already having those conversations, as are many of our peers within the community that continue as part of the authorized program going forward. So I think that's the first step is, similar to when the Advantage program launched and white label was announced, we spent a great amount of time being early messengers to the program, adding education and insight, thought leadership, and just giving people a place to go. So that way, as they made that decision, they knew that they were working with somebody, that was out in front and really getting, the facts versus the fiction as they navigate through it. And we're all learning together on some of this. So we don't have all the answers, but certainly we're plugged in and we stay very focused on this. Well, it's obviously a big announcement and there's a lot more detail to follow. So first and foremost, how do you stay connected? If you look at the QR code below and scan, you can plug in, not only from there, but also at otava.com, where we continue to opt-in subscribers that can stay connected to most recent news. You'll see us run series of webinars and YouTube clips and the like to try to get information out as close to real time as we get it, as we work through developing what this next version of partnership looks like under the new program. I think the one comment that I would make, and what means a lot to me if I was on the other side of this, and I've thought about that a lot, is like this is ever changing. And so what would that mean for me? And that is respond, don't react. I'm seeing a lot of people, rightfully have an emotional reaction to this. And the truth is, whether we like to hear it or not, the market doesn't care how we feel about it. And so as business leaders of our organizations, our stewardship responsibility, of course, is to our investors, our shareholders, but also to our employees and their families that are looking to us to make big decisions, to continue forward, to our customers, right, that go through this. So my feedback is take a deep breath and keep this really narrowly focused on what are the next most important steps between now and October 31st, and that's identifying who do you want to align with and why. What do you want to do with your private cloud practice, specifically, on the VMware platform? If you can work with somebody to identify those things, this starts to slow down and it gets a lot calmer for you to make the bigger decisions as you get past that. But I think this is also an opportunity, and the combination of this plus AI was driving this to reinvent your business. And certainly all of us, including OTAVA, have really had to have that focus since the first set of changes in what was legacy VMware to now new Broadcom and the white label program. And so we adjusted our business to support that new strategy and embrace those new customers. And similarly, we'll adjust our strategy, support this new version and the new customers to come along with our existing. But I think that's the journey, is saying, adaptation is a part of success. And so your number one responsibility is stay calm, stay focused, and pick your partner wisely, and then give yourself the right kind of time, to figure out what's the best next move for you long term after you get through the short term noise. So I think those are the biggest announcements, or the biggest pieces of feedback that I would give, relative to right now. But just know that the situation is constantly changing. It's constantly evolving. And I would expect that much of what we're talking about today will be outdated in 5 to 10 days. And you'll have new news, new information, and the like. There's a lot more to come on this. VMware Broadcom Explore, their annual conference is coming up in August. I expect a lot more information there as well to be released from them to the authorized partners and the customer base. And so we'll certainly be ready to share that information here and with our direct business conversations, be it on the sales side or the business development side. So, but until that time, thank you so much. And we've said before, I miss Melissa Locke, so if she's tuned in today, tell her I said hi. But at OTAVA, we like to say, do a decision. And I think that's where you are right now, is over the next couple of months, you need to do a decision on what's your strategy for this product for you, and what's your strategy relative to the partnership of who you're going to work with next in this next version. OTAVA can be your resource for information and guidance. So again, please click here, go to otava.com, check the QR code, make sure that you're directly connected in. Certainly you can schedule personal time, but we really appreciate the opportunity to be stewards of the information. We look forward to helping you.